Hey guys, hope everyone's doing good. Thanks for making your way back to the channel. I'm just going over the car, checking a few things after the race. I'm really happy with how the car is working so far. The front shocks are definitely a bit on the loose side. The wheelies were pretty cool, I guess, but I definitely don't want to be doing that all the time. If I could tame that down a little bit, it would definitely be better. I definitely would have tried to put a little more power down on the line. Did make for some cool pictures and videos, so that's definitely a positive. I'll put a link in the description for the full video on the event that ProTree Videos put out. It's a really good video. Ben does a really awesome job on these. He's got all different angles, covers the whole event from start to finish. So if you're looking for something to watch, definitely go check it out. I'll put that in the description. So after the race, there's always stuff that needs to be checked out, gone over, that kind of stuff, maintenance stuff. But I always have little things that happen at the race that I try to look after right away. And I try to do it right away so it's fresh in my mind. And that's any little thing that was a problem, anything that I maybe couldn't find, anything that I thought I should have. And I write that stuff down right away, and I try to address it first. It's always the little stuff that's really going to get you. And I find doing it this way avoids any of the little stupid stuff that's going to cost you a race. So I write that stuff down. My fuel cell cap, the O-ring has swollen up from the methanol and literally took me probably 2 or 3 minutes each time to put the fuel cell cap back on. My parachute handle is basically starting to crack. The containment pan, I did a little bit off-roading, so I want to check that out, make sure there's no damage there. And I didn't notice my shift light working. So again, might seem like a little stupid stuff, but if I couldn't get the fuel cell cap back on with the O-ring, then I wouldn't have been able to run because it would have just sprayed fuel everywhere, or I would have had to try and wrap rags around it or something. But that's something I want to look after. I want to make sure I have a spare one of those in the trailer from now on. The parachute handle was a super easy fix. The cable had a little bit of a kink in it at the back. So I just rerouted it a little bit, was able to cut the little kink out of it, gave it a little bit of lube, and it's working like brand new now. The mount is really stout, but it was so hard to push that it was just starting to crack. So that's another easy little fix. I checked the belly pan. It's just thin aluminum. It was pushed up a little bit. I pulled that back down. And I'm just looking at the shift light now to try and figure out why I'm not seeing it. It could have potentially just been that the car was wheeling in and I was really focused on just driving the car. But I think I actually noticed something else. And that is, kind of forgot, I guess, that I really should be taking this cover off during the day. So with that cover on during the day, if you turn the shift light on, I mean, it comes on, it looks kind of bright in the camera, but if you're outside in the sun, this thing would be super dull. But if you have the cap off of it, like, it's bright. So I definitely got to make sure I'm leaving that cap off and putting it back on at nighttime. So I moved the cap to the back and I'm just going to leave it off right now. So it might seem like really stupid stuff, but in half an hour, basically, I resolved all those things. I actually had some spare O-rings here. So I've changed the one on the cap. I've put extra ones in the trailer, and any of these little things should not come back to haunt me again. And I mean, if you do that every time you go to the track, you're going to just eliminate all those little stupid things. So I still have all the regular stuff to go over on the car. I'm going to nut and bolt the car front to back, basically, because it's got a few passes on it now, and really want to just look at everything. I did just change my belts. They were just expired, so I replaced them. I got to do the window net, which I got a brand new one here, so I'm going to throw that in. And I had a couple people ask about going over the data log. So I'm going to do that right now quick. So I'm going to go over the tune first. So this is the race, the last race that I ran. My launch RPM was 3,500. I had a pretty good launch retard in it, pulling almost 10 degrees and not getting it back in until probably just over 3 seconds. So I have a pretty good chunk of timing pulled out of it still, but the car seems to be going down pretty decent. I did add quite a bit in through here to help try to carry out that wheelie, which worked pretty well. And my boost, so I'm really on wastegates for about the first second of the run. I really don't get into much. Even at 2.5, 3 seconds in, I'm only adding 3 PSI I'm only adding 3 psi dome pressure. And at the end of the run, which is probably around in here somewhere, it's only seen somewhere around 8 or 9 psi dome pressure. So let's take a look at the data log from that pass. So it left at basically 3,500, just under. It had 3.9 pounds of boost, which is basically what it makes at that RPM. So that'll look normal. Red is engine RPM, and if I pull up my drive shaft at the same time, you can see that the first 2.5 seconds of the run, the car was hooked up really good. The drive shaft is pretty nice and tight. Hooked up pretty solid, I'd say. But then right at the time the car shifts, the drive shaft gets pretty upset and doesn't ever really recover from that. I also shifted it a little high, almost 7,300. And I believe I have my shift light set at 65. So that's initially why I wanted to look at the shift light to see why I wasn't seeing that and why I wasn't shifting on time. Another interesting thing that I noticed with the drive shaft curve, and also with watching the videos, at about the time where the front end comes down, the car goes over a pretty big dip in the track. And I could be wrong, but what I think is happening is the track kind of raises up. So the car is coming up onto that bump and probably getting more traction, which is slowing down the drive shaft slightly, if that makes sense. And then as the car goes over the bump and kind of unloads the suspension when it gets on the other side of the bump, almost hitting a jump almost, I'd say. I mean, the tires don't come off the ground, but it's definitely losing traction. And then after that, it's just upset the whole rest of the run. And another way that I kind of confirmed this was if I overlay this drive shaft curve with one from the first round, you can see the dotted line is first round, and you can see that it basically runs into the same kind of deal. It is right about the shift thing. It's really hard to tell, I think, if it's related to the shift or if it's related to the bump in the track, but it does basically do the same thing where the drive shaft kind of slows down and then speeds back up again. And then after that, it's almost the same way. It's upset the whole pass. I'll play the video here and try to slow it down. So I'll try to slow it down here, and I hope you can see this, but basically as the car drives over this like hump in the road, you can see the back end comes up first, and then as it comes over the bump, the back end's back down. So I think that that's what I'm seeing there. I'm going to have to look at the shocks and maybe see if I should loosen something off there or tighten something up. But I'm going to look into that and see if there's something there that I can help with that. And I just turned on the traction control retard, and you can see after that point, it's on both runs, just trying to keep it in shape. But that's basically the run. Like I say, this was the finals. I think if I was going for another round or going to try and improve on this, you can kind of look at the drive shaft, and it's kind of tapering down right about there, like 2 seconds in probably. And I'm assuming that's where the front end starts to come down. So I think what I'd probably do is I'd lower the shift point down a little bit, try and get it away from this bump. And I don't know, maybe try to put a little more power in it here, try and get all the timing in by like 2 seconds. And I don't know what to do with this info on the bump. I don't know if I would pull a bunch of timing out to try and get over it to keep it smooth. If anyone has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it. I don't really know what to do with it. So I couldn't really put a lot more power to it up top because it was just so upset up top that it really wouldn't take any more. I mean, I did try to make it take more. I did get on the scramble button. I didn't think I actually did, but probably just after 3.5 seconds in, I did get on the scramble and stayed in it. And it was moving. Like I say, it did pick up a 10th from the previous run. And it did make 15, almost 16 pounds of boost up top. So it did pick up a little, but it probably didn't gain much from the scramble because it was so upset. But basically that was the run. That was the finals. That was the fastest pass that it made all day. Like I say, that was a whole 10th faster than the round before. So I did pick up a lot. I picked up most of that. I picked up on the front half. I picked up quite a bit in the 60 and quite a bit to the 330. So that's where most of my gain was, which is really what I was shooting for. A lot of it I'm just kind of figuring out as I go. So if you got some thoughts on that, throw it out there. If you have questions, you want to see something else, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'll answer your questions. I'll give you any more info you need. But basically, that's where I finished off. So I think before I can really just throw a bunch more power out on the line, the front shocks are 3 clicks from full tight. So I definitely got to address that. I did think about maybe taking some weight out of the trunk and try to run it that way. I did plan on maybe going to the track tomorrow to do a little bit of testing, but it kind of looks like rain. And the track kind of changed their schedule. They were going to have test and tune all day, but now they have like an event going on. So I don't know if I really want to go wait to run in between the event. So I'm just going to focus on what I can do here right now and work on getting the front shocks revalved, which I probably can't do for a couple weeks because there is another race I want to go to next weekend. So I'm probably just going to try it the way it is. It's a similar surface as to what we were just on. So I'm probably just going to tighten it up the 3 clicks I got and try to throw a little bit more at it and see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't do a giant wheelie. I still have the limiters. I can limit the front suspension a little bit. That was full travel at the last one, so I can maybe take an inch or so out of it. But definitely have something to work with, I think. Really happy with it. Everything's working good. So just going to focus on going over everything. And like I say, I think if I go to the next event, it's a similar surface. I think the car will probably do okay. My tires have quite a few runs on them too, which I might end up trying to change. I probably have almost 20 runs on these tires. So if you notice, a lot of guys are changing these tires every single race. But they're clearly still working good. So we'll see what happens. But basically, that's all I got for you guys. Got any comments, throw them up there. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Do me a favor, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, give it a click. And have a good one, guys.